The biggest surprise wasn't what the palace said about Prince Louis. It was how long they waited before saying anything at all. For weeks, social media had been flooded with questions about the youngest child of Prince William and Princess Catherine. Every new family appearance, every photograph, and every official update seemed to trigger another wave of speculation. Some online posts went far beyond the available evidence, claiming there was a hidden crisis or an undisclosed medical emergency. Yet none of those dramatic claims were supported by verified statements from Kensington Palace or other reliable sources. In fact, many viral posts were built on rumors that quickly spread from one platform to another without credible confirmation. That silence became a story of its own. And when people begin filling silence with theories, the truth often struggles to catch up. The latest attention surrounding Prince Louis came during a period when the Wales family chose to share carefully selected family moments instead of responding directly to online speculation. A recently released birthday video for Prince George showed Louis laughing with his older brother, climbing over seaside rocks, playing cricket on the beach, and appearing energetic throughout the family's holiday footage. Rather than looking like a child at the center of a crisis, he appeared exactly as many royal watchers have come to expect: playful, expressive, and full of energy. But strangely, that did not stop the questions. If anything, according to those familiar with the intense online discussion surrounding the royal family, every new image created even more debate. Some viewers analyzed facial expressions frame by frame. Others claimed the palace was deliberately revealing only limited footage. Before long, the conversation had shifted away from what was actually visible and toward what people imagined might be happening behind closed doors. That is where the situation became far more complicated. Prince William has consistently tried to protect his children from excessive public attention. Since Catherine's well-publicized health challenges in previous years, the couple have been noticeably more cautious about how and when they allow their children to appear publicly. Many royal commentators believe that approach was designed to give George, Charlotte, and Louis as normal a childhood as possible despite their extraordinary position. Yet word inside royal circles is that protecting privacy has become much harder in the age of viral social media. Every family photograph now sparks thousands of theories within minutes. Every absence becomes headline material. Every delay in responding is interpreted differently depending on who is telling the story. And that creates enormous pressure, not only for the palace communications team but also for William himself, who reportedly remains determined to prevent his children from growing up under constant public scrutiny. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of issuing an emotional denial or launching into detailed explanations, official royal channels simply continued sharing carefully chosen family content that showed life moving forward naturally. There were no dramatic announcements, no emergency press conferences, no confirmation of the alarming claims circulating online. Some observers interpreted that as confidence. Others mistakenly interpreted it as avoidance. Those close to the family's approach reportedly argue that responding to every internet rumor would only encourage more speculation. If every false claim received an official answer, the palace would never stop answering questions. That strategy may make sense internally, but externally, it leaves space for endless guessing. And perhaps that explains why questions surrounding Prince Louis seem to grow louder rather than quieter. The timing also mattered. The release of Prince George's birthday photographs reminded many people how quickly the royal children are growing up. George's transition toward his teenage years naturally shifted attention onto the future of the next generation, with Louis once again becoming one of the most discussed young royals online. The family video showed relaxed interactions between the brothers, reinforcing the image of a close family enjoying private time together. Still, according to palace observers, the real challenge was never the footage itself. It was the expectation that every appearance should answer every question. That simply isn't how the royal household operates. Even so, one detail has continued attracting attention among commentators. William appears increasingly determined to control exactly when his children enter the public spotlight, even if that means allowing criticism over limited appearances rather than exposing them to relentless attention. Some royal insiders suggest that approach reflects lessons learned from previous generations. Others believe it represents a complete shift in how the modern monarchy wants to raise future royals. Whatever the reason, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The conversation surrounding Prince Louis is no longer just about one young royal. It has become a debate over privacy, public expectations, and how much access the public should reasonably expect to have. And behind all of that sits one uncomfortable question that the palace still hasn't directly addressed. If the family believes remaining silent is the best strategy, why did they suddenly decide that now was the right moment to let carefully selected new footage do the talking? And what message were they hoping everyone would notice next? The answer may have been hidden in plain sight all along. The more people searched for a dramatic explanation, the more they overlooked the message Kensington Palace appeared to be sending through actions rather than words. Instead of chasing every rumor online, Prince William seemed to double down on a strategy that has quietly shaped his family's public life for years. It was a strategy built on consistency, patience, and the belief that not every headline deserves a response. But according to royal commentators, that approach came with a price. Silence can protect a family. It can also invite endless interpretation. As speculation continued across social media, many viewers expected an official statement specifically addressing Prince Louis. It never came. Rather than commenting on internet theories, palace communications remained focused on confirmed engagements, charitable work, and carefully planned family updates. To supporters, that restraint demonstrated confidence. To critics, it looked like the palace was allowing unanswered questions to grow. Those familiar with the way royal communications are handled suggest there was another calculation taking place behind the scenes. Every public response creates a precedent. If the palace responds to one viral rumor, it may be expected to respond to the next 100. That could eventually place the family's private life under constant negotiation with social media trends. William reportedly understands that risk better than most. Having grown up under relentless media attention himself, he has spoken in the past about protecting his children from the pressures he experienced. Many royal observers believe that philosophy explains why George, Charlotte, and Louis appear only at carefully selected public events rather than maintaining a constant public presence. Yet the internet rarely rewards patience. Every day without a direct response encouraged fresh theories. Some accounts claimed there was tension inside the household. Others insisted hidden concerns were being carefully managed. None of those claims were supported by verified evidence, but once speculation begins circulating widely, separating fact from fiction becomes increasingly difficult. Then another interesting detail caught the attention of experienced royal watchers. The palace wasn't actually becoming quieter, it was becoming more selective. Family photographs, short videos, and official engagements continued to appear, but each release seemed carefully designed to highlight stability instead of reacting to controversy. According to those close to the situation, that may have been the entire point. Rather than arguing with rumors, the palace appeared to be presenting normal family life and allowing viewers to draw their own conclusions. That strategy works only if people are willing to accept what they see, and many weren't. Some continued searching for hidden meanings in every smile, every camera angle, and every public appearance. The discussion slowly shifted away from Prince Louis himself and toward a much broader debate about transparency. How much should the royal family reveal? Where should privacy begin? And does public funding automatically entitle the public to personal information about royal children? Those questions have no easy answers. For William, however, the priority reportedly remains straightforward. His children deserve a childhood before they inherit lifelong public responsibilities. That belief appears to influence almost every communication decision involving the Wales family. For a brief moment, it looked as though the speculation might finally begin to fade. The family had appeared together naturally. The latest images were widely shared. Many viewers felt reassured after seeing Louis looking happy and active. Then the conversation changed again. Instead of asking whether Prince Louis was well, some commentators began asking why the palace had waited so long before releasing reassuring family content. According to palace observers, that question was far more difficult because it challenged the communication strategy itself rather than the rumors. Was the delay simply part of a carefully planned media calendar? Or had growing public pressure influenced the timing more than officials were willing to admit? No verified evidence answers that question. Still, those close to royal reporting say even the most carefully managed institutions sometimes adapt when public conversations become impossible to ignore. That doesn't necessarily mean rumors are true. It may simply reflect an effort to restore attention to verified information instead of online speculation. If that was the objective, it appears to have worked, at least partially. Attention gradually shifted back toward official photographs and genuine family moments. Headlines increasingly focused on Prince William's protective parenting style rather than unsupported online claims about Louis himself. Yet one issue refused to disappear. The palace had demonstrated how it preferred to respond, but it had not changed how quickly rumors could spread in the digital age. Every future absence, every cancelled appearance, and every delayed photograph could potentially trigger the same cycle all over again. And according to some royal analysts, that may become one of the greatest challenges facing William as his children grow older. Because protecting privacy becomes harder, not easier, with time. What happens when George begins taking on more public duties? What happens when Charlotte and Louis reach the age where public expectations inevitably increase? The balance between openness and protection may become even more delicate. For now, the palace seems determined to stay its course, but behind that calm public image, one question continues hanging over the future of the Wales family. If this communication strategy is already being tested while Prince Louis is still a child, what happens when the next major royal controversy demands far more than silence? What if the real battle was never about Prince Louis at all? That possibility changes everything. By the time the speculation had reached its peak, the conversation was no longer centered on one young royal. It had evolved into something much larger, a public test of Prince William's leadership as a father and as the future king. Every decision was being judged, every silence was being analyzed, every carefully planned appearance was being interpreted through completely different lenses depending on who was watching. According to palace observers, that is exactly the situation William has spent years trying to avoid. Those familiar with the family's approach suggest he believes there is a clear difference between public duty and private childhood. His children may one day carry enormous responsibilities, but today they are still children first. That philosophy reportedly influences almost every decision surrounding their public lives. Even so, pressure continued to build. Commentators began asking whether the palace should modernize its communication strategy. In an era where misinformation can reach millions of people within hours, some argued that waiting days, or even weeks, to let carefully selected photographs speak for themselves might no longer be enough. Others strongly disagreed. They warned that changing course could create an impossible cycle. Every rumor would demand an official reply. Every trending hashtag would force another statement. Before long, the palace would be reacting instead of leading. William reportedly understands that danger better than anyone. After witnessing intense media attention throughout his own childhood, many royal experts believe he has little interest in allowing the next generation to experience the same relentless scrutiny. Rather than chasing every headline, he appears determined to establish boundaries, even when doing so invites criticism. Ironically, that determination may have become the very reason many supporters rallied behind him. Across royal discussion forums and media commentary, increasing numbers of people began arguing that protecting children should outweigh satisfying public curiosity. They pointed out that Prince Louis had done nothing to deserve becoming the center of internet speculation. Whatever questions adults wanted answered, they argued, should never come at the expense of a child's privacy. That shift in public sentiment was subtle at first. Then it became impossible to ignore. Instead of asking, "Why isn't the palace saying more?" many people started asking a different question. Why are so many people demanding personal information about a child in the first place? That change completely altered the tone of the conversation. If you're enjoying this breakdown of royal family stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe because these situations often become far more complicated than the headlines suggest. Yet just as it appeared public opinion was beginning to settle, another unexpected twist emerged. Some royal analysts argued that the palace's measured response had unintentionally strengthened William's image as a future monarch. Rather than appearing reactive, he looked disciplined. Rather than allowing online speculation to dictate official policy, he maintained a consistent approach despite growing pressure. Of course, not everyone accepted that interpretation. According to those close to royal reporting, critics continued insisting that transparency builds trust and that carefully managed silence leaves too much room for misinformation. They believed a short clarification early in the process might have prevented weeks of unnecessary speculation. Both arguments carried weight, and that is precisely why the debate refused to disappear. Then another respected figure within the royal family quietly entered the wider discussion. Not through dramatic public comments, but through the values she has consistently represented over decades of service. Princess Anne. Although she made no verified public statement about Prince Louis or the online rumors, many royal commentators began pointing to Anne's long-established reputation for discipline, duty, and keeping family matters private. According to those familiar with palace culture, Anne has often been viewed as someone who believes actions matter far more than headlines. That comparison quickly gained attention. Some observers suggested William's handling of the situation reflected lessons learned from Anne's practical approach to royal life. Others believed the similarities were simply coincidence. Whatever the truth, Anne's example added another layer to the public conversation. Instead of appearing isolated, William increasingly looked supported by a broader royal philosophy, one that places stability ahead of short-term public approval. Reportedly, those inside royal circles see that consistency as essential, because once exceptions begin, expectations become almost impossible to control. As attention gradually shifted back toward official engagements and charitable work, the emotional intensity surrounding Prince Louis finally began to cool. But something important had changed. The palace had weathered another storm without directly confronting every rumor. William had reinforced his reputation as a fiercely protective father, and many members of the public had started questioning the culture of constant speculation itself. Even so, one final challenge remained. The immediate headlines might fade, but the underlying issue had not disappeared. The next time one of William's children misses an event, the next time an official photograph arrives later than expected, the next time social media begins filling the silence with theories. Will this same strategy still be enough? Or has the palace merely delayed a much bigger test that could redefine how the next generation of royals communicates with the world? That answer may arrive sooner than anyone expects. The answer, at least for now, appears to be yes. The palace never issued the dramatic statement that many people expected. There was no emergency press conference, no emotional rebuttal, and no attempt to answer every rumor that had spread online. Instead, the strategy remained remarkably consistent from beginning to end. Official updates continued. Family photographs were released on their normal schedule. Public engagements moved forward. And Prince Louis was gradually seen in the same natural, energetic way the public had come to recognize over the years. In the end, that became the palace's response. Not through lengthy explanations, but through carefully chosen moments that quietly reinforced a simple message. Life inside the Wales family was continuing as planned. For Prince William, that outcome carried far greater significance than simply ending another round of online speculation. According to palace observers, this was about establishing a long-term precedent. If every rumor dictated official communications, the family would lose control over its own story. Instead, William appeared determined to decide when his children would be seen, how they would be presented, and most importantly, when they deserved complete privacy. Many commentators believe that decision reflects lessons learned from previous generations of the royal family. Public curiosity has always existed, but the speed and scale of modern social media have transformed ordinary questions into worldwide debates within hours. That reality has forced every public institution, including the monarchy, to reconsider how it communicates. Yet even as the immediate speculation surrounding Prince Louis began to fade, one final complication briefly threatened to reopen the entire discussion. Some critics argued that silence should never become the default response because misinformation spreads much faster than official clarification. They warned that leaving false narratives unanswered could allow them to become accepted by portions of the public, regardless of whether evidence existed. Supporters pushed back just as strongly. They insisted that responding to unsupported claims would reward the very behavior the palace hoped to discourage. In their view, children should never become subjects of endless public explanation simply because rumors gain attention online. It was a debate with no perfect solution. And perhaps that is why the palace chose consistency instead of confrontation. Throughout the entire episode, one royal figure continued to represent that philosophy more clearly than anyone else: Princess Anne. Although there is no verified public record of Anne commenting directly on the rumors surrounding Prince Louis, royal commentators frequently point to her decades of steady public service and her belief that duty should always outweigh drama. According to those familiar with royal culture, Anne's quiet example may have reinforced William's confidence that remaining disciplined would ultimately prove more effective than reacting emotionally. At the emotional heart of this story, one principle seemed to emerge above everything else. As one palace insider reportedly imagined Anne expressing it during private family discussions, children should never become prisoners of public curiosity. Whether those exact words were ever spoken publicly is unknown, but the sentiment closely reflects the values many royal observers associate with her long-standing approach. That idea changed the way many people viewed the entire situation. Instead of asking why the palace had remained silent, increasing numbers of observers began asking whether the public had expected too much in the first place. Gradually, the focus shifted away from rumors and back toward verified events. Prince William continued carrying out official duties. Family updates resumed their normal rhythm. Prince Louis returned to being seen as a cheerful young member of the family, rather than the center of unsupported online theories. No dramatic confrontation ever arrived. No explosive revelation suddenly appeared. Instead, the issue was settled in the calm, formal way the modern monarchy often prefers, through consistent official communications, carefully managed public appearances, and an unwavering refusal to validate speculation without evidence. That resolution did not satisfy everyone. Some people remained convinced the palace should always communicate more openly. Others believed William's approach had successfully protected his son's privacy while refusing to encourage misinformation. Either way, one thing had undeniably changed. The relationship between the palace and the online world had entered a new phase. This episode demonstrated that viral speculation alone would not necessarily force immediate official responses. Future communication decisions would likely continue following the same measured pattern, even if public pressure intensified. For Prince Louis, that may ultimately prove to be the greatest protection his parents can offer. For Prince William, it reinforced the image of a father willing to accept criticism if it means preserving a normal childhood for his children. And for the palace, it served as another reminder that in today's digital age, silence is no longer empty. It is often interpreted as a statement in itself. The rumors may have faded, but the debate over privacy and public expectation is far from over. What do you think? Did the palace handle this situation the right way, or should they have spoken out much sooner? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.